Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the class on operation research for the MBA second semester students. And in today's class, we'll do introductory session on simplex method. So in the last class, we have discussed about graphical method. Okay, so the graphical method, although it's easy to comprehend, the problem with the graphical method is that graphical method can only be work on two variables. So if we have more than two, then probably a graphical method would not able to give us the answer. That is a problem with graphical method. So in order to overcome that issue, we have a simplex method. So fine. So when we work on simplex method, probably by using simplex method, we can solve all possible problems on linear programming. So there are some deviations in simplex method. Probably it happens whenever the constraints are greater than or equal to. Then in that scenario, we use bigger method, which is an alternate approach of a simplex method, which we'll discuss in the future. Right now, we'll do probably the basic understanding of how we can work on a simplex method. So I hope understanding whatever we have done so far. In case of any doubt, please ask your doubts by using the comment or chat option. So we'll start then the simplex method. So the last few classes we were discussing the construction of LPP equations. Okay, we discussed about construction of LPP equations. Like suppose if this is the problem, okay, talking about the same problem only. So suppose this is the problem. If manufacturer manufactures two model M1 and M2, so the maximum profit what the manufacturer can get, because his objective is to get the maximum profit in a week. So that would be 3x1 plus 4x2. We did that subject to constraint. What all subjects to constraints are there? Okay, so this is your objective function where your x1 and x2 are basically your decision variable. So x1 is the number of units of model M1 which is being manufactured per week, and M2 is the number of units of model M2 which is manufactured per week. Okay, so the constraint what you have, each model of M1 require 4 hours of grinding, while each model of M2 require 2 hours of grinding. So I can write the equation that 4x1 plus 2x is less than or equal to one grinder works 40 hours a week and you have two grinder is less than or equal to 80. Similarly, the other constraint what I can use is about polishing, that each model of M1 require 2 hours of polishing, and here 5 hours of polishing for M2. So the equation will be 2x1 plus 5x2 is less than or equal to. Okay, so each polisher work for 60 hours a week, and they are each polisher works 60 hours a week. Okay, and there are three polishers, so it's less than or equal to 180. Clear, everyone? So the objective function was maxima of z is equal to 3x1 plus 4x2 subject to 4x1 plus 2x2 is less than or equal to 180, and then 2x1 plus 5x2 is less than or equal to 180. So any other constraint you have, the two types of model M1 and M2, 4 hours of grinding, 2 hours of polishing, when a model M2 requires 2 hours of grinding and 5 hours of polishing. The manufacturer has two grinder and three polisher. Each grinder works 40 hours a week. Each polisher works 60 hours a week. Profit on M1 is 3 rupees, M2 is 4 rupees. Whatever is produced in a week is sold in the market. How should the manufacturer allocate his production capacity so that he can have maximum profit? So constraint, non-negative constraint would be x1 and x2 to be greater than 0. So this is the equation. So we learned that for a given LPP problem, how we can construct a linear equation. This we have learned so far. And then how we can solve this equation by using graphical method. That also we have learned so far. Now in today's class, we learn an alternate approach to solve a given problem. So whenever we have a problem, LPP problem, this is called linear programming problem. Linear programming problems are the fundamentals of operation research. Okay, this is the first thing what we try to learn whenever we study operation research. So once we have linear programming problem with us, then what we do, we want to solve the problem. We can solve this problem by using solver in MS Excel, but probably that we cannot use in exam. Then we can solve this by using graphical method that already we learned. And the third thing, how we can solve them by using simplex method. So if I want to solve them by using simplex method, so I'll write my objective function maxima of z is equal to 3x1 plus 4x2, 3x1 plus 4x2 subject to constraints 4x1 plus 2x2 is less than or equal to 80, 2x1 plus 5x2 is less than or equal to 180, and then x1 x2 should be greater than or equal to 0. Clear, everyone? Now I want to solve this problem. So for to solving the simplex method, if you want to solve the problem by simplex method, so what we do, we firstly focus on the constraints, like what we used to do in graphical method. The same thing we use here. So in graphical method, what we used to do when we used to have a constraint, we used to assume the constraint for the time being to having equality sign. You remember, right? So whenever we used to have a graphical method, so what we used to do with graphical method, when we used to look into the constraint, assume the constraint to have equal to sign, right? And then based upon is to draw a straight line curve for that. And because the constraint is not actually having the linear you say equality sign, then what we used to do, we should determine the area, either the maximum area or either the minimum area, looking after the constraint, either the constraint is less than or more than. So I hope you remember, right? So here what we do when we work on the simplex method, in simplex method we use algebraic methods to solve the given equation. So we construct the given table in the form of matrix, and then we try to solve the problem. So what will do here, if you look into this constraint, what we'll do in the simplex method, we write the same method, the constraint of this method, I'll write first 4x1 plus 2x2 plus s1 is equal to 80, and then I'll write 2x1 plus 5x2 plus s2 is equal to 180. And so what I'm doing here, so what I've done here, sir, I used dummy variables, sir. So the my objective was to convert the given inequality based equation, quality based equation. So what I did, I introduced dummy variables S1 and S2. So what I've done, introduced dummy variable, introducing dummy variable. So why two dummy variable? Because two constraints are there. So introducing dummy variables. So what are those dummy variable? S1 and S2. Okay. So what this S1 is all about? So this S1, the value of the S1, what is S1 is basically? S1 is basically 80 minus 4x1 plus 2x2. what is your S2? S2 is basically 180 minus 2x1 plus 5x2. You have to understand this. So what this S1 is actually, guys, you understand the value of 4x1 plus 2x2 is either less than 80 or either equal to 80. So in case if 4x1 plus 2x2 is less than 80, then S1 value is basically 80 minus 4x1 plus 2x2, so that it become equal to 80. Are you getting it? So and if S1, if 4x1 plus 2x2, if that is equal to 80, then S1 is 0. I hope you understanding. S1 is like another end of a beam balance. So you have a beam balance S1 and you have another called 4x1 plus 2x2. That is another beam balance, suppose. You want to make sure that the total weight always remain 80. You want to make sure, suppose something like a beam balance. So here you want to make sure the total weight is always 80. In case if it weight decreases, so you will increase the S1 weight so that it become equal to 80. And in case if the S1 weight increases, so if it going close to 80, this weight will keep on decreasing. So we'll make sure that the whole equation should remain equal to 80. So I hope you understand. So I'm introducing it to dummy variable S1 and S2 because I had two inequality based constraint. So these dummy variables are called slack variables. So these dummy variables, the name for this dummy variable, the name for this dummy variable is basically slack variable. So we introduced two slack variables S1 and S2. Okay, such that this is the value of x1, this is the value of x2. You know that, right? 4x1 plus 2x2 is less than or equal to 80. So two possibilities are there, that it can be 4x1 plus 2x2, it can be less than 80, or it can be 4x1 plus 2x2, it can be equal to 80. So in case if it equal to 80, then S1 would be equal to 0. In case if not equal to 80, then S1 is 80 minus 4x1 plus 2x2, so that sum total of the value become equal to 80. Can you understand this? Anyone, any doubt? What about others? Others, everyone understood, right? So we'll call them as a slack variable. Okay, so the purpose of introducing this slack variable is to the inequality which is less than or equal to inequality into equality. So that for that reason only we introduce these slack variables. So why two slack variable? Because two constraints are there. Clear everyone? Can I go ahead? So where what I'll write then? So where your non-negative constraint would be your x1, your x2, your s1, your s2, that should be greater than equal to 0. And your objective function will be maxima of z is equal to 3x1 plus 4x2 plus 0s1 plus 0s2. See this? The given equation will convert the given equation like this form. Anyone, any doubts? See this? So you introduce the two slack variable s1 and s2. So in whenever we are solving the problem by simplex method, this is the approach how we do. Depending upon the number of constraints, we'll use that slack variables, and those slack variables should be non-negative slack variables. Their value should be greater than or equal to 0, and the objective is to make the left hand side of the equation to be equal to the right hand side of the equation. Done, everyone? Can I go ahead? So once you understood this, now what we do now, we try to solve this given problem. And now our objective is to solve this given problem. So how we can solve this given problem? To solve the given problem, to solve the given problem, to solve the given problem, we'll use iteration table. So we will use iteration table. Okay, so we use iteration table to solve the given problem. So the same problem we write in tabular form. The same problem we'll write in the form of tabular form. Here I'll write x1, x2, s1, s2. So I have two variables, x1 and x2, two decision variable, and two slack variable, s1 and s2. See the objective function here. See the objective function here. What is your objective function? See the coefficients of the objective function. So the objective function coefficients are 3, 4, 0, 0. That is the coefficient of objective function. 3, 4, 0, 0. That is the objective of the, that is the coefficient of the objective function. So write like this. So write down the decision variable and slack variable, okay, and write their coefficients at the top. Then you can write RHS, and then you can write theta value. Okay, and we'll start solving the iteration table. So when we start solving the table, we start solving the table by introducing the dummy variable into the equation. So you have two dummy variable s1 and s2 having the coefficient zeros. That is called theta. You can see the symbol. So this is called theta. So different books place them differently. I've seen some book who are putting RHS on the left hand side. Some book they put on right hand side. All that doesn't matter here. That is called theta. I think you can, if you're not able to, this is we call it theta. Greek letters alpha, beta, gamma, theta, vega, rho. So one of that symbol is Greek theta. So this is like different symbols are there. You can use any symbol. You can use alpha also if you like more alpha than beta. So now once you've done this, now write down the coefficients. The first equation coefficient, this is 4x1. So you write 4x1 plus 2x2 plus s1 plus 0. Just write down the coefficient. 4, 2, write down the coefficient of first equation. X1 coefficient is 4, x2 coefficient is 2, s1 coefficient is 1, s2 coefficient is 0, S1 coefficient is 1. You can see here. S2 is, there's no S2 here. And the same equation, guys. Same equation 4x1 plus 2x2 plus 1s1 plus 0s2. I can write as x, right? Second equation 2x1 plus 5x2 plus 0s1 plus 1s2. I can write as 180, right? I hope you're not confused with that part. So I can just write down the coefficient 4210. Second equation 25250 1. What is RHS? RHS, this is your RHS. This is your RHS 80 and 180. This is your RHS 80 and 180. Clear everyone? Please write it down. Clear everyone? So once you're done with this, then this we called as this. We'll call this as CI. Its values. These values we'll call them as a CI. These values what we get, we'll call them as CI. Okay. And then we'll find here ZI. What is ZI? ZI is nothing but some product of the coefficient with respect to these values. 0 into 4 plus 0 into 2. What you will get? 0. Then 0 into 2 plus 0 into 5. What you will get? 0. 0 into 1 plus 0 into 0. What you will get? 0. 0 into 0 plus 0 into 1. What you will get? 0. So we have to find Zi. Zi is nothing but it is a sum product of the coefficients what you wrote inside the table with respect to the coefficients of the variables what you will write on your left hand side. That is your Zi. Then we'll find a Ci minus Zi. So that is 3 minus 0, 4 minus 0, 0, 0. Clear everyone? Zi is the sum product of these values, guys. So 0 into 4 plus 0 into 2, 0 into 2 plus 0 into 5, 0 into 1 plus 0 into 0, 0 into 0 plus 0 into 1. Do for each column. do for each column, multiply the coefficient of SI, your slack variable, with the coefficients of the values which are given column wise with respect to each variable, either decision or dummy, inside the table. Multiply and add them. That is called sum product. So once you get Zi, then do Ci minus Zi. Okay, so we'll do this process till the time we'll get all Ci minus Zi either 0 or negative. Do Ci minus Zi, we will do this process till all the Ci minus Zi is either 0 or negative. So here you can see Ci minus Zi, they are not 0 or negative. They are positive values. You have positive value. Pick the value which is the highest. Pick the value out of all Ci minus Zi. Pick the value which is the highest. So the out of all Ci minus Zi, the value which is highest is value 4. So you can see the value 4. What this mean? Just mean what this mean that now the decision variable, the corresponding to that, the variable which is corresponding to 4 is x2. It means x2 is gonna enter into the solution and it will replace some dummy variable, either s1 or either s2. This is how we solve the simplex method. So we start solving the problem by using by assigning slack variables, okay, in the equation, and then one by one step iteration table. When we do so one step by another step, we'll try to remove these dummy variables. Okay, so out of all Ci minus Zi, the highest one is 4. So the variable corresponding to 4 is x2. It means x2 will enter into the solution. Now x2 will either replace s1 or either it replace s2. Now when x2 is going to enter into the solution, now if x2 is trying to enter in the solution, then definitely x2 will either replace s1 or either replace s2, because there are two dummy variables which are right now assigning the values in the given table. Those are s1 and s2. So it means x2, if it's trying to enter, it will either replace s1 or either it will replace s2. So which one it will replace, that depends upon the theta value. So what is theta? Theta is basically your RHS and the corresponding element value to that. So this would be 80 divided by 2. This would be 180 divided by 5. So 80 divided by 2 is 40 and 180 divided by 5, that is 36. So we'll pick that theta which is the minimum. So find out the theta which is the minimum. So the theta which is minimum, so that theta will that variable which is corresponding to that will exit the solution. The variable which was corresponding to that will exit the solution, and in place of that, that variable will come. Okay, that variable will come. Okay, so which is having the highest Ci minus Zi. So the variable which is having highest Ci minus Zi will gonna enter into the solution, and it will replace out of the two variables what you see. Okay, so it will replace either S1 or it will replace either S2. That depends on theta. How we find the theta? By dividing the corresponding elements corresponding to that variable which is going to enter by the RHS. And whichever having the lowest value, that will exit the solution. So which is having the lowest value, S1, S2. So the variable which is having the lowest value here is S2. It means S2 is going to replace by the X2. Clear everyone? So this shows that S2 will be replaced by X2. Done everyone? Clear? So here, because x2 is going to enter into the solution, and x2 is going to replace s2. Now the element, the corresponding element, which is a point of intersection between x2 and s2, that is called as pivot element. So here we have something called pivot element. Okay, that's what I'll represent with the symbol called k1, that is equal to 5, because you know that the x2 is going to replace s2. Now the element which is the point of intersection between the x2 and s2 value, that is 5. The 5 is called as a pivot element. Now this 5 is called as a pivot element. You remember this, okay? Clear, everyone? So based on this 5 only, will determine the value of the x2. Now the x2 which is going to replace here, the x2. Now this x2 which is going to replace s2. How to determine the value of that x2? How will I determine the value of that x2? So determine the value of x2. Here you know that 0 s1, and then you have x2 having a coefficient called 4. Now x2 is going to come into the solution, x2 in place of s2. So how we can work on the values of x2? How will I determine the value of x2? So for that, I'll consider the element which is the point of intersection between the x2 and s2, which is called the pivot element. Now divide all the values of old element by the pivot element. So the values which were there here, s2 values were 2, 5, 0, 1, 180. Those were the value of s2, right? Yeah, those were the value of s2, right? You can see this. What you will do now, the new values what you have for x2, that will depends, the values what you will get, that depends on the pivot element. Pivot element is 5, right? So whatever was your old values, divide that old values by your pivot element. So 2 divide by 5, 5 divide by 5, 0 divide by 5, 1 divide by 5, 180 divide by 5. This value will be the new values of x2. So the values of x2 will be 2 by 5, 1, 0, 1 by 5, and 36. Clear, everyone? Clear, everyone? Can I go ahead? Pavitra, I told Pavitra the pivot element is 5 here, Pavitra. The pivot element is 5. Okay, and the old values of s2 was 2, 5, 0, 1, 180. You can see. So divide all these old values by the 5. You'll get the new values of x2. Clear everyone? Can I go ahead, guys? Clear everyone? So I got the value of x2. Now I have to find the value of s1. Okay, now I have to find the value of s1. So guys, if you understand, I told this 5 was the pivot element. Okay, because 5 was the point of intersection between x2 and s2, because the 5 is the value, because x2 and s2. So the 5 is the corresponding element, which is the point of intersection between the x2 and s2. Okay, so 5 is called as a pivot element. Okay, so now for s1, for s2, 5 was the pivot element. Now, if you see for s1, s1 2 is the pivot element. So for the column S2, the 5 was the pivot element. Similarly, for the row S1, 2 is the pivot element. So how will you find the value of the row S1? Now I have to find the value of row S1. So how will I find the value of row S1? So the old element of S1, old values of S1 was 4, 2, 1, 0, 80. This was the old values of S1. Clear? Can you see the old values of S1? This was the old values of S1. Okay. Now what we'll do, now you're gonna use the formula. You see the formula very clearly. So the old element, so the S1 old values were 4, 2, 1, 0, 80. Okay. Now if you see the constant here, guys, the constant here for the row S1, the constant is 2, right? The constant is 2, right? The constant is 2, right? Yeah. The constant is 2, right? Yeah. And then what is a new element? New element is the value what you get here. New element. This is the value what you get here. So the values, the set of row which you just now constructed, okay, which has actually replaced some variable. So the values for that variable that we called as the new element value. So this would be 2 by 5, 1, 0, 1 by 5, and 36. Clear everyone? What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to find the new values of the row S1. So to find the new values in the row S1, I need old values of S1. I need the constant which is corresponding to that row, and also I need the new element. The new elements are basically the array of those values which you just now constructed, which is the basically the values of that row which is being replaced, which is the new row which is being added. So that we the set of values of that row we called as new element. Now what we'll do, we'll use the formula. So the new values of S1, that is basically the old value minus the constant, okay, into the new values of the x1. You apply the formula 4 minus 2 into 2 by 5. So you'll get 4 minus 4 by 5. 4 minus 4 by 5, that will be 16 by 5. Then second one is 2 minus 2 into 1. Okay, so this would be 0. So this would be 1 minus 2 into 0. This will be 1. This would be 0 minus 2 into 1 by 5. That would be minus 2 by 5. This is 80 minus 2 into 36. This is 80 minus 72. 36 to the 72, right? So this is 8. Clear? So you just write down the values here, whatever the values you get here, you just write down the values here. 16 by 5, 0, 1, minus 2 by 5 and 8. So 16 by 5, 16 by 5, then 0, 1, 16 by 5, then 0, 1, then minus 2 by 5, 16 by 5, 0, 1, minus 2 by 5 and 8. Clear, everyone? So with this, you will find the value of S1. Then guys, can I go ahead? So now you found the value of S1, you found the value of X2. Now what I can do, I can find the value of Zi and then Ci minus Zi. So I can find the Zi. I can find the Zi. So the Zi value of this would be 0 into 16 by 5 plus 2 by 5. This would be 8 by 5. 0 into 16 by 5 plus 4 into 2 by 5. So that would be 8 by 5. 0 into 0 plus 4 into 1. This would be 4. Then 0 into 0 into 1 plus 4 into 0. This would be 0. Then this would be 0 into minus 2 by 5 plus 4 into 1 by 5. So this would be 4 by 5. Then 0 into 8 plus 4 into 36. That will be 144. So you got Ci, you got Zi value. So Zi is nothing but 0 into 16 by 5 plus 4 into 2 by 5. You can see this 0 into 16 by 5 plus 4 into 2 by 5. You'll get 8 by 5. 0 into 0 plus 4 into 1. You'll get 4. Then 0 into 1 plus 4 into 0. You'll get 0. Then 0 into minus 2 by 5 plus 4 into 1 by 5. You'll get 4 by 5. So once you get all the Zi value, now what you find? Now find Ci minus Zi. Ci minus Zi. Ci values, these are your Ci values. So 3 minus 8 by 5. 3 minus 8 by 5. What is 3 minus 8 by 5? That would be 7 by 5. 15 minus 8, that would be 7 by 5. 4 minus 4, 0. This is 4. 4 minus 4, 0. Then 0 minus 0, 0. Then 0 minus 4 by 5, 4 by 5 minus 4 by 5. And this 20 will leave that. Clear? So you look into all Ci minus Zi value and you see is that all values are zero or negative. If all values are zero or negative, means we're done with that solution. We don't have to do it again. If in case if ci minus zi is not zero negative, we'll figure out the variable which is the maximum. We'll figure out the variable which is maximum. So the variable which is maximum is 7 by 5. So the variable which is maximum is x1. The variable which is maximum is now x1. It means now x1 will enter into the solution. Earlier x2 has entered. Now you can see the highest ci minus zi is 7 by 5. It means the variable corresponding to that. This is x1, x2, this is s1, s2. So the variable which is corresponding to that is 7 by 5 is x1, which is having minus zi value called 7 by 5. It means now x1 will enter into the solution. Now if x1 will enter into the solution, now x1 will either replace s1 or it will either replace x2. So which variable will it replace? For that, we'll find the theta. What is theta? Theta would be 8 divided by 16 by 5. So 8 divided by 16 by 5, if I'll do, I'll get 5 by 2 or 2.5. The next one, this would be 36 divided by 2 by 5. So this would be 90. So find the that value, which is the minimum. Find the minimum theta value. So whichever values correspond to the minimum theta value, it means that variable is exiting the solution. So which is having the minimum theta value, guys? Minimum theta value. Minimum theta value is 2.5. Now 2.5 is less than 90. It means 2.5 correspond to which variable? S1. So means S1 will exit the solution and S1 will be replaced by X1. Okay, so once you understood, then what would be the pivot element? So the pivot element for that would be, what would be the pivot element? So the pivot element for that, this would be K1, this would be 16 by 5. This would be the pivot element for the row X2. Clear everyone? It means now S1 is going to replace by X1. Clear everyone? Can I go ahead? So this is same thing, same steps will keep on repeating till the time we don't get Ci minus Zi, all negative, all zero. Then everyone, anyone have doubt, please ask me. Clear everyone? Can I continue? Anyone, any doubt? Okay, so once you understood now that x1, now once that x1 is gonna enter into the solution, once you understood that x1 is gonna enter into the solution, so now in place of s1 you have x1 and you have x2. The coefficient of x2 is 4 and the coefficient of x1 is 3. The coefficient of x1 is 3. Okay, you know this. So now the pivot element corresponding to x1 is 16 by 5. So divide all the element by 16 by 5. Already I told you these things before. So 16 by 5 by 16 by 5, that would be 1. So this would be 0. 0 divided by anything is 0. 1 divided by 16 by 5, that would be 5 by 16. Minus 2 by 5 divided by 16 by 5, that would be minus 1 by 8, and 8 divided by 16 by 5, that would be 2.5. Clear? Similarly, now if I see for x2, the old element of x2 is 2 by 5, then 1, then 0, then 1 by 5, then 36. So now the new element, now the new element of the new element is x1. The x1 is the new element. So the values of that is 1, 0, 5 by 16, minus 1 by 8. This is 5 by 2. Clear? So the new values what you get, that is for x1. Those values what you get, you can see here, those values are 1, 0, 5 by 16, minus 1 by 8, and 5 by 2 or 2.5. Okay, and the constant here for x2, what is the constant? For x2, the constant is 2 by 5. For x2, the constant is 2 by 5. So you can just use the formula. So here, old element minus 2 by 5 into new element. So 2 by 5 minus 2 by 5 into 1, if you do, you'll get 0. Will get 0. Then 1 minus 0 into 2 by 5, you will get 1. Then 0 minus 2 by 5 into 5 by 16, you will get minus 1 by 8. Then 1 by 5 minus minus plus 2 by 5 into 1 by 8. So if you solve, you will get 1 by 5 plus 2 by 40 is equal to 40 is the LCM. So 8 plus 2, 10 is equal to 1 by 4. So then 36 minus 2 by 5 into 5 by 2. So this is equal to 35. So that is the new values of x2. So you can just write very simple, guys, very simple steps. The same steps will keep on repeating. So this is 0, 1 minus 1 by 8. This is 0, 1 minus 1 by 8. 0, 1 minus 1 by 8. Then 1 by 4. And then this is 35. Now you can see here, we started solving this problem with the dummy variable S1 and S2. We started solving this problem with the dummy variable S1 and S2. Now we have two decision variable X1 and X2. Okay, and then once we find their values, then what we'll do again, we'll find the Zi value. Again, I'll find the Zi value. So what value for the first column, that would be 3 into 1 plus 4 into 0. That would be 3. Then for second column, that would be 3 into 0 plus 4 into 1. That would be 4. Then for the third column, that would be 3 into 5 by 16 means 15 by 16. Then 4 into minus 1 by 8. 4 into minus 1 by 8 means 1 by 2. So that would be 15 by 16 minus 1 by 2 would be, if you take 16 LCM, that would be 15 minus 8 means 7 by 16. Okay. And then the last one, this would be 3 into minus 1 by 8 minus 3 by 8 plus 4 into 1 by 4 is 1. So 1 minus 3 by 8 means 5 by 8. Okay. And then you see this 3 into 2.5. 3 into 3 into 2.5 will be 7.5 plus 4 into 35. 35 forza is 140, right? So this will be 147.5. Okay, so you got all ZI value. You know your CI values, no? CI values you wrote at the top. CI value you wrote at the top. 3400. CI values you wrote at the top. That was 3400. Now find CI minus ZI value. 00 minus 7 by 16 minus 5 by 8. You can see all your CI minus ZI is 0 or negative. So we'll follow this iteration table till all Ci minus Zi is 0 or negative. So I got 0 or negative. Once that is done means you reach your answer. So what is your answer? You can see your answer, guys. X1 value is 2.5. X1 value is 2.5. You can see your answer, guys. Your X1 value is 2.5. Your X2 value is 35. X1 value is 2.5. X2 value is 35. And the maximum value of Z is 147.5. I believe you remember. This is the what we get by when we solve by graphical and when we solve by what we call solver method. So the x1 value we got was 2.5, x2 value we got is 35, and the maximum value of z we got is 147.5. Clear? So the same thing we got when we solve by graphical method or by using the Excel solver function. You can check we have done already solved this problem by using graphical or by using MS Excel solver. You can check there also we got the same answer. I hope you remember. So same thing, guys, same kind of steps we keep on repeating. See, I know first time when I'm doing, I know you would be finding little bit difficult to understand. That's the reason I'm recording the class. So I'll request everyone that once this recording is done and whenever you get free time, please watch the recording of the class. You can pause the video. Any step you are finding it difficult to understand, okay, and comment option and there you can put if you have anything not able to understand you can mention that part. I'll try to explain you next class or you can make a note of. So that is the advantage. What will happen if you watch the recording version, there you can stop anytime whenever you want to. You can pause the video, you can see what part you have not understood, you can go back, you can check everything. And if you do hard work, definitely you'll understand. So if you really want spoon feeded every time, so it may be possible, but probably so then your ability to learn by yourself will gradually will decrease day by day. So again, it's your call. I'm not anyone to explain on that part. So for that reason, I am doing recording for every class. Little bit of effort if you put by yourself, it would be really great for yourself to understand LPP how we can solve it by simplex method. Anyone, any doubt, any question? Fine. So this much from the today class. If everyone understood everything, then I like to wind up the class. Anyone, any question? Anyone, any question? Everyone. Thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone.